Harihi Om, my dear holy souls. This is Mata Anantananda, Sri Sadguru Shivarama Avadhuta Ashramam, Kamavaram village, Kurnool district, Andhra Pradesh state, from Bharat, that is India. Under the caption of wonderful Indian folk stories, we are enjoying the adventurous stories of Bhatti and Vikramaaditya, the historical personalities of ancient India. This is the story of Karpatika, somehow big, hence I divided it into two parts. This is the 8th story of Bhethal, narrated to Vikramaaditya. Main incidents in this story are: the king to Brahma Pura was Chanda Simha. His soldier was Karpatika. His service to the king and his adventure. In spite of death gate, how he struggled to defeat it. The outcoming skills from this story are: this story mesmerizes us with fantasy and twists. It makes us to merge into the wonderful world. Okay, let us enter into the story. Bhetala said, "Again you are efforting to subjugate me, Vikramaaditya, O great king. Now I am narrating another story. Please listen carefully. You know the condition also. Okay, let me narrate it. Once upon a time, there was a great city by name Brahma Pura. Chanda Simha was its king. He was very generous, adventurous, and good administrator also. One day, to his court, a strong man, a young man, arrived. And he introduced himself as his name was Karpatika, and he requested the king to give any job in his court. Chanda Simha had appointed him as a soldier in his army. Days were passing happily. One day, Chanda Simha, along with his close ministers and other some little battalion of soldiers, he wanted to go to hunting to the forest. On the particular day, they have gone to the forest and hunted the wild animals to protect the fields and the human beings, because as in those days forests were vast and the people living places like villages, towns and cities were less in number and less in area also. That's why. Sometime they enjoyed the hunting. But by God's grace, like that, the horse of Chanda Simha got irritated by somehow, and it started running with high speed. Except the king, the horse was going in any direction like anything. Nobody could succeed to follow him. And the king, Chanda Simha, tried a lot to control the horse, but in vain for some time. After great effort, he could control it. And because of tiresome also, the horse got into the control of the king, and it was stopped under the shade of a big tree. And it is about so far from from the started point. When he looked before the way around the directions, Chanda Simha observed nobody had followed him. In the limit of sight, nobody was there. The king was tired like anything and thirsty like anything. Then he thought that he might search for water or food to somewhat the facility. And by that time, just he got up. Actually, he sat down on the floor under the shade of the tree to take some rest. Then he wanted to search for water. That's why he got up from the place. By that time, he watched from some far place. Some soldier was approaching him. He felt happy, Chanda Simha. After arrived the soldier, he could recognize him that the soldier was Karpatika. And immediately Karpatika greeted the king, and he had given 2 amalaka, means usri, I forgotten the name in English, amla, yes. That two fruits had given to the king and said, "Oh, my dear king, your majesty, on the way I had watched a tree of amla. I plucked two fruits for you because I suspected that you might be thirsty. You please enjoy this fruit, and meantime I'll go there here and there and to watch the water, and I'll fetch the water for you." King felt happy, and Karpatika had wandered the surroundings, and he could found a little pond, and with by folding a lotus, he had fetched some water and had given to the king. Chanda Simha had felt very satisfaction by drinking water, and his thirst was satisfied, and he felt very happy about the service of Karpatika, because he himself, the king, had ran off by horse, but on foot Karpatika was able to trace the king and able to follow him to protect the master. That's why Chandrasimha felt very happy. They had taken some little bit rest under the shade of the tree. Meantime, the remaining soldiers and the ministers of King Chandrasimha approached there. And after some time, they returned to the capital city. And on the next day in the court, Chandrasimha had rewarded Karpatika, who had saved his life. Otherwise, he could feel very difficulty. He could face very difficulty to satisfy the thirst and all. And had rewarded him, and he promoted him from the soldier to the seat of close ministers. He had given the appointment for him, for Karpatika, as a minister in his advisory board. Days were passing happily. And one day, King Chandrasimha had called on Karpatika and said, because Chandrasimha heard about the beauty and good qualities of Princess of Lanka. He wanted to marry her. That's why he called on Karpatika and said to him, Karpatika, I heard about the fame of Lanka princess. You go to Lanka and as my ambassador, and you introduce yourself there and fix the match. I want to marry her and report me back. He said like that, and he sent. And Karpatika had taken needful arms, weapons and money and all, and had gone to the port and had engaged in a business ship to go to Lanka. Then they started the traveling. 2 days passed peacefully. But on the third day, one surprisingly and unexpectedly, a big storm happened on the ocean. Unfortunately, this ship in which Karpatika was engaged to go to Lanka was captured in the midst of cyclone, in the storm. Then though in spite of great efforts of that sailors of the ship, but the ship had broken into pieces, and so many people had lost life, and Karpatika was struggling, and by fortune had taken a plank of wood, and with that help he tried to escape from the death. He could succeed for some time. Later, he lost that also. By the way, he was swimming with great effort in that storm. Somehow, he struggled to came out from the cyclone eye. Then he started swimming and swimming and swimming to escape. It is a struggle of life like that. But by that time, a big fish, a blue whale, approached him with open mouth. He couldn't identify the danger even, because the mouth of the whale, the big fish, was like a cave. That's why he couldn't recognize it as a mouth of the fish. Immediately, within a moment, the fish had swallowed him. Before noticing the danger, Karpatika was inside in the stomach of the fish. Then by observing, though it was very dark, With the touch and smell, he observed and he recognized that he was in the stomach of some sea animal, sea creature, living being like that. Then he had taken out his small sharpened knife and started to cut off the stomach of the fish. Though the fish was very big, it can defeat him in the face to face, but inside he was cutting it. That's why it could not put revenge on him. So from inside he started to cut down of the tear of the fish body, and somehow with great effort he could come out of that, and by washing his body with blood and the liquids of the fish fluids, and he could swim, and finally he had reached the shore of an island. Then he fallen down on the sand of the beach and had taken some rest, and then started to watch the island. It was a very beautiful island. There were so many flowers and fruits trees, and so many beautiful birds and animals, and with such creepers and like anything. It was just like a garden in the heaven. He smelled all the flowers and fruits, and he had taken some fruits and had eaten up to cool down his appetite. Then he felt very happy because he didn't watch and taste such sweet fruits even in the palace of the king. Then he felt happy, and he had taken, after satisfying the hunger, he had taken some rest, and then started to wander around the island. It was really very beautiful. Then what will happen? Let us enjoy in the next episode. Harihi Om. Thank you for watching.